one of the craziest events I have ever been to. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's up, guys? This is YNOT Be Reckless, aka YNOT Be Caster, one of the HCS commentators, analysts, and grassroots content creators, and we have another HCS report where today we're going to be breaking down all of the craziness that went down at Arlington, and it's going to be a great time. As you guys probably know, one of the greatest bracket runs where we saw one of the greatest almost like travesties happened during the events with the blackout, and yeah, I was to kind of walk you guys through it. But first, before we get into pool play and even talk about how this started, why don't we talk about the teams real quick? And yeah, we'll go top from bottom. Shopify, Rebellion, Frosty, Raw 2, Last Shot, and Cycle, the favorites to win the tournament. Number 1 seed going up against Optic in that round number 1. You're probably thinking, how the hell that happened? We'll talk about that soon. But Optic Gaming, Formal, Legend, Bound, and Renegade, Space Station Gaming, Lucid, Snakebite, Eco, and Stellar. Zero Tenacity, also going by Peepa during the most of the season. Jimbo, Mighties, Chick, and Sika. You got FaZe Clan, Trippy, Penguin, Suppressed, and Falcated, Complexity, Spartan, Precision, Mental, and Huss, Team Nemesis, Wootum, Snipe Drone, Glory, and SOG, Cloud9, Sab, Manny, Septify, and Boo Boo Doo, TSM, Druk, Soul Snipe, Tolic, and Cherished. We got Infamous, who was in here. Infamous was Lethal Squad. I can't find it on my screen, but I know it by heart. Lethal, Collect, Ezo, and Descendant. Gen G, we have it as Ryan, New King, Nick, Common, and Breaking Shot. And then eventually you had Ether Gaming, that number 1 squad coming out of Latin America. And we'll talk about them a little bit more. I just want to go over the rosters a little bit before we actually get into the pool play. Now, we'll briefly talk about pool play so that we can talk about the meat and potatoes and bracket play. Or we'll talk about kind of the main storylines. But a pool A, Shopify Rebellion come out as your number 1 seed. Cloud9 is number 2. Infamous started off in the lower bracket because they came in as their 3rd seed, beating the open bracket team. In pool B is where things got crazy, where Optic Gaming, the number 1 seed in this pool, number 2 seed overall, ended up losing to Team Nemesis, but in the weirdest way possible. So in case you guys don't know, on Friday night, the last match of the freaking night, Team Nemesis and Optic are going at it, and Team Nemesis are up 2-0 in the series. In the middle of the game, everything goes pitch black and we lose power. I was in the back actually on break during that time, so as soon as it happened, we went right outside because we heard somebody said that the transformer is on fire, and I was like, Megatron? So go outside immediately, pop up my video. We see it smoking a little bit. I wouldn't even say it was on fire. It was smoking a little bit, but clearly something was wrong. And within like 30 seconds of me being outside, we have fire trucks pulling up, and it was absolutely crazy. So that's to replace like a whole transformer, take down like a tree or two in order to do it. Absolutely crazy, but they somehow got it done overnight. This actually got done maybe like around, like, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. What ended up happening was they canceled the event for the whole rest of the evening, and that included not only the matchup that was on the main stage that everybody was watching, but on top of that, open bracket, feature station, all that stuff, every one of those matches in the middle of their matches got shut the freak down and resumed the next day. So the next day, Team Nemesis and Optic did go at it again, where Optic was able to take that game number 3, making the series 2-1. But eventually, Team Nemesis ended up winning that matchup. And I believe it was a 3-1, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was a 3-1. Optic won that first match going into Saturday, but eventually it was Team Nemesis that came out with the 3-1. Now, because of this heavily messed up the bracket, which we'll talk about a little bit more after we talk about Gen G finishing off 3rd place seed Ryan squad and starting off in the lower bracket. No real surprise that FaZe finished number 1 in pools. It was surprising they went 9-0 though. Fantastic for them. But TSM a lot of people's dark horse squad. People had high expectations. I had high expectations going into this tournament or going into the season. They didn't have the best off season and early season, but eventually TSM would go into tournament plans. Okay, well, going into LAN, it's a lot different than online. Maybe this is where TSM really step it up, but they ended up losing to Zero Tenacity, which was a huge upset. That's Jimbo's squad going by Peepa during the early season. And TSM finished 3rd seed, where a lot of people had them maybe upsetting FaZe in the, as the number 1 seed possibly. This actually forced TSM to make a roster move. I guess we'll talk about maybe on another video. But yes, TSM have already made a roster move 2 days after the tournament. And then Pool D, which was pretty surprised as well. You had Luminosity, number 5 seed in the entire tournament, not even winning a single series. Number 5 seed in the tournament. Not only losing to Complexity, the number 12 seed, but on top of that, losing to Ether Gaming coming out of open bracket. Luminosity had to be the biggest surprise of the actual tournament, not winning a single series, not making it out of pool play again as the number 5 seed. Crazy to think about. But yeah, we move on to because of Team Nemesis finishing out as the number 2 seed and the way the pools went, the Pool A's number 1 seed went against Pool B's number 2 seed, which means that we got a Shopify Rebellion Optic matchup. Normally, Optic would have finished number 1 in their pool, and so you had the number 1 seed in Pool A over here and the number 1 seed in Pool B down here. They wouldn't meet again until like the winners bracket finals, but again, because Optic got upset, they ended up playing against the number 1 seed in Shopify Rebellion in round number 1. And let me tell you, Optic won game number 1, won game number 3, and in that game 2 Slayer was 50-49, and the only reason they didn't win that game 2 and ultimately sweep Shopify Rebellion was because of a crazy team grenade on Renegade when Cycle was 1 shot bottom mid and he was about to take him out. It was a crazy team grenade that ended up obliterating Renegade shields, and ultimately they lose that matchup and eventually lose in a game 5 when it felt like they should have swept Shopify Rebellion. Shopify Rebellion all tournament long looked like the best team in the world, but against Optic they did show some weakness, and it did seem like maybe, just maybe, they would lose that matchup. But nonetheless, Shopify Rebellion win it. They move on to the semifinals. SSG would join them after 3-1ing the team formerly known as Peepa and Zero Tenacity. FaZe with a 3 over Complexity, no real surprise there. Team Nemesis with a 3-1 over Cloud9. Had Team Nemesis as my dark horse squad, but if you've been paying attention to Cloud9, you knew how great they were and how great they could be. We'll talk about them a little bit later here. But let's see here. Shopify Rebellion with the 3-0 over Space Station Gaming. We wanted to see some big things out of Space Station Gaming as well. I think Space Station Gaming are really good. I think they're really good. I think people are a little hard on them right now. But I think they're really good, and I think they definitely can turn this ship around and make some grand finals and maybe win some tournaments. Right now, they don't look like a tournament winning squad just yet, but it's not like they look like a top 8 squad. They still are one of the best teams in the world. Let's see here. FaZe with a 3 over Team Nemesis. Big win for FaZe. I mean, talk about Team Nemesis like crazy, but even though they were able to beat Optic Gaming, they weren't able to take a game off of FaZe. And eventually, Shopify Rebellion with 3-1 FaZe in the winners bracket finals, stamping their ticket in the grand finals and also having one of the craziest journeys to make it to a grand finals did Shopify Rebellion, taking down the number 2 seed in round number 1, going at the number 3 seed in the semifinals, and then an undefeated FaZe clan up until this point, until FaZe were only able to take 1 game. Shopify Rebellion in the grand finals and looking like they would win this tournament until we go down to the lower bracket. A little bit Optic with a 3 over TSM. No real surprise there. TSM are good, but they definitely were far from great. all season long, but even in this tournament as well. Infamous going to game 5 with Zero Tenacity. That must have been an interesting matchup. Didn't get the chance to see that. Gen G going up against Complexity. I heard there was a crazy pop-off. Think about this. The YNOT and the Spartan freaking, like, rivalry has gone on so long, but on top of that, Breaking Shot was also dropped from that Complexity roster and then eventually picked up from Gen G. While getting dropped and beating your former team, that must have felt so good for Breaking Shot. There was some pop-offs at the end of that game after Gen G with the 3-2 advancing forward. Cloud9 going to game 5 with Ether Gaming. Ether Gaming was incredible, by the way. The only team to come out of open bracket to make it to championship bracket and almost ended up making it to the top 8, but they would be shut down by Cloud9, who we'll talk about a little bit more after the Cloud9 3-1, that very same pop-off Gen G Esports roster. Cloud9 moved forward. Optic with the 3 over Infamous, no real surprise there. Cloud9 taking SSG to game 5. Now, mind you, I'll take you back. I guess first we'll talk about, I'll take it back, excuse me. I was brought in with HCS as an analyst, so no expectations for casting whatsoever. I would love to cast more, but I also love doing analyst work on the broadcast as well. So we finish up with the Optic and Team Nemesis matchup, which we'll talk about as well. But we finish up with that matchup. The night's supposed to end. Well, on the feature stage, SSG and Cloud9 are still playing, and they only had played one game. So the thought process was, why not get that one more bonus match on stream? And me and Goofy on the desk got to Red Zone cast it a little bit, which was awesome. I got to cast my man Goofy, late night, find out who makes it into Championship Sunday, because mind you, this is top 6 right now. The winner makes it to top 4, and the winner goes to Championship Sunday. And mind you, the match that we get is a game 5. Cloud9 played Space Station Gaming so well, got taken to a game 5, and then eventually SSG 3-2 Cloud9 and make it to the top 4. But man, was it a fight! And I got to cast it, which was incredible. On the top half, the quarterfinals, Optic would run into Team Nemesis once again, reminding you that Team Nemesis in pool play were able to 3-1 them, and they take them to a game 5. So another crazy battle between Optic and Team Nemesis, but this time Optic would actually get their revenge and move forward into the semifinals, into the top 4, and join us for Championship Sunday. Mind you, at this point, Optic has started off in lower bracket round number 1 and made it into Championship Sunday. Just want to put that as a quick reminder as we move forward. Optic then 3-0 Space Station Gaming. A huge win. A huge win for Optic Gaming, showing that they could once again be dominant against the best team in the leagues. Then they went to the lower bracket finals, guaranteed top 3 at this point, but obviously Optic would not be happy with a top 3 finish. They were trying to break the curse where Optic come off with the 3-1 against FaZe. Optic going to the grand finals, having to go up against the very team that knocked you into lower bracket round number 1, the number 1 seed, the hottest team in the freaking league, and they 4-0 Shopify Rebellion in the first series. And at that point, the haters were silent. The crowd is going wild, because mind you, we're in Optic's freaking house, Arlington, where teams have made history on the backs of Optic in their own house, consistently getting second place on LAN all last year, not a single win, which rolled into this year, and they only were able to get 1 win, but a whole lot of second places. Once again, they come in, the crowd goes wild after the 4-0. They're going up and playing godlike Halo. Shopify Rebellion come in and they dig deep as well, going up against Optic. They take them to a game 7 in the bracket reset, where Optic Gaming would come off with another win. First with a 4-0 to reset the bracket, then beating them in 7 games in an absolute war. We saw some of the best, no, not some, the best Halo Infinite that we have ever seen in the 4 years that this competitive game has been out. It was unreal. But the Optic that was in this grand finals was night and day. I would say 10 times different, 10 times even better. The Optic that we saw in the lower bracket round number 1. Optic in the grand finals hit another freaking gear, bro. Get back to it. Hit another gear. What we saw from Optic Gaming was absolutely incredible. That was just sheer freaking, like, I don't even know. That was just sheer, like, will. Like just wanting to just wanting to succeed and break the curse and do it for yourself, do it for the fans. That was beautiful, honestly. But the tally, the final standings are in. Optic are your winners. They break the curse in probably the most craziest way that we've seen in the grand finals, and one of the most craziest tournaments that we've probably seen in Halo. Shopify Rebellion number 2, FaZe 3rd place, SSG 4th. Big top 6 finishes for Team Nemesis and Cloud9. Infamous and Gen G would finish off in your top 8. And although Complexity looked good on Friday, they did finish off top 12 alongside TSM, Zero Tenacity, and then Ether Gaming. And then we had some open bracket teams joining. Number 1 team from Australia, the number 2 team from Latin America, Ether Gaming number 1. Dark Inside, who've been there, done that. Luminosity, the number 5 seed, coming into this tournament, rounding out your top 16. Optic Gaming are your champions. And I guess I feel like Land is supposed to answer the questions that we have, but somehow I feel like I have even more questions right now. Who are Optic Gaming? Are they the number 2 second best team in the world like we saw for most of that tournament? Or what we saw in the grand finals just the beginning of what's going to continue to happen throughout the year? Because I promise you, if we see that same Optic Gaming we saw in the grand finals in future grand finals, I don't know if Optic are losing a tournament. But what I do know is Optic are your champions. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. How did you feel about Optic Gaming? How did you feel about Shopify Rebellion? How do you feel about FaZe and Space Station Gaming? Let me know all of your comments, questions, and concerns. We're giving away big money on the YouTube comments. That's right, we're giving away $1 whole to a lucky subscriber who comments down below in the chat. So you can literally comment anything at all. You could talk about any one of the teams. You could talk about the tournament itself. You could talk about the craziness. You could call me fat. Doesn't matter. We're giving away $1 to one lucky subscriber who comments down below. And congratulations, Optic Gaming.